Welcome back to Master 79. In this lesson we're taking one complete ielts speaking part 1 topic jewelry and working it end to end. We'll brainstorm each question together, then hear a full band 9 answer, and then break down exactly which words and structures earn the marks. Let's get started. First, a quick reminder of what part 1 actually is. It lasts 4 to 5 minutes and it comes first in the test. The examiner asks simple questions about you, your home, your work or studies, and everyday topics like jewelry. You should answer in 2 to 4 sentences. One word is far too short. A 2-minute speech is far too long. And remember, you're marked on fluency, vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation. You are not marked on how interesting your life is. Here are today's 3 questions on the topic of jewelry. Do you often wear jewelry? What type of jewelry do you like to buy? And why do you think some people wear a piece of jewelry for a long time? Notice how they move from a simple habit question to a preference question, and finally to an opinion question. That progression is typical of part 1. Before we start, here's the shape of every strong part 1 answer. Step 1. Answer the question directly in the first few words. Never circle around it. Step 2. Extend with a reason, an example, or a contrast. This is where the marks live. Step 3. Personalize with one small concrete detail, because specific always beats general. And then step 4. Stop. Hand the turn back, and let the examiner move on. Question 1. Do you often wear jewelry? Let's brainstorm before we speak. On the left, the ideas. Give a clear frequency, rarely, daily, only on occasions. Name what you actually wear: watch, a plain ring. Contrast everyday habits with special occasions. Add one personal detail, an inherited necklace. And on the right, the language we'll reach for. I'm fairly minimalist when it comes to throw on a watch that said, make an effort. Here's the band 9 answer to question 1. Not really, no. I'd say I'm fairly minimalist when it comes to accessories. On an average day, I'll just throw on a watch and maybe a simple silver ring, and that's about it. That said, if I'm going to a wedding or something a bit more formal, I'll make an effort and wear a necklace my grandmother left me. Now let's look at why that answer works. I'm fairly minimalist when it comes to a natural way to describe your taste. The phrase when it comes to narrows any topic throw on. A phrasal verb meaning to put clothing on quickly and casually. Far more natural than I put on. That said, a discourse marker that signals a contrast. It shows the examiner you can shift direction smoothly. A necklace my grandmother left me. A relative clause with no relative pronoun plus a concrete personal detail. This is what lifts an answer. Question 2. What type of jewelry do you like to buy? Let's brainstorm before we speak. On the left, the ideas. State a style preference, understated versus flashy. Name a material, silver rather than gold. Say what you avoid and why. Finish with a principle, quality over quantity. And on the right, the language we'll reach for. I tend to go for understated/flashy. I'm not really drawn to tarnish. Here's the band 9 answer to question 2. I tend to go for understated pieces rather than anything flashy. Think delicate silver chains or plain bands. I'm not really drawn to gold or to anything encrusted with stones. It just isn't my style, and I'd much rather save up for one well-made piece that lasts than pick up a handful of cheap accessories that tarnish within a month. Now let's look at why that answer works. I tend to go for tend to express is a habit without overclaiming. Go for means to choose or prefer understated vs flashy. A precise, high-level contrast pair. Understated means quietly stylish, flashy means showy. I'd much rather X than Y. A clean comparative structure that shows grammatical range and gives you a natural extension tarnish. Topic-specific vocabulary. Cheap metal goes dull and discolored. Exactly the precision band 9 rewards. Question 3. Why do you think some people wear a piece of jewelry for a long time? Let's brainstorm before we speak. On the left, the ideas. Lead with the main reason, sentimental value, not price. It was a gift from someone close to them. It marks a milestone, a wedding, a graduation. Add a second angle, sheer habit. It becomes part of you. And on the right, the language we'll reach for it comes down to sentimental value, marks a milestone, feels strangely bare. Here's the band 9 answer to question 3. I think it usually comes down to sentimental value rather than the price tag. A lot of the time the piece was a gift from someone close, or it marks a milestone like a wedding or a graduation, so taking it off would feel almost like letting go of the memory. There's also a habit element. Once you've worn a ring every single day for years, your hand feels strangely bare without it. Now let's look at why that answer works. It comes down to means. The essential reason is perfect for any why do people question sentimental value rather than the price tag. A ready-made contrast between emotional worth and money. Reusable across dozens of topics, marks a milestone, a strong collocation. A milestone is a significant life event. Your hand feels strangely bare without it. Vivid, natural imagery. Band 9 answers sound like a person talking, not a textbook. Here is the full transcript of all 3 answers on one slide. Pause the video here, read them straight through, and notice how short each one really is. This is what 2 to 4 well-built sentences looks like. And here is your language bank for this topic. Vocabulary for wearing jewelry, for describing it, for materials, for value, and the linking phrases that hold an answer together. Screenshot this slide and use it in your own practice. So why do these answers sit at band 9? Fluency and coherence. They flow without effort, and the ideas are ordered. Answer, then reason, then example. Lexical resource. Precise, topical vocabulary, used naturally. Grammatical range. Conditionals, comparatives, and relative clauses all appear without strain. And pronunciation. Clear, well-paced, with a stress on the words that carry meaning. One honest note. This band 9 label reflects an internal quality check against the publicly published ielts band descriptors. It is not a score awarded by a certified ielts examiner. That's the full topic. You've now seen the brainstorm, the model answers, and the language behind them. Here's your challenge. Record yourself answering all 3 questions. Time each answer and aim for 15 to 25 seconds. Then use 3 phrases from today's language bank and record it again. Compare the 2. Thanks for watching. Be Master 79 and good luck in your test.